You ever have one of those moments where you realize your life's about to change, like really change, and there's not a single damn thing you can do to stop it? That was me standing on a wild patch of land by a lazy old creek, the kind of spot developers skip over because it's too rough or too quiet to turn a profit. But for me and Maggie, after 23 years of city noise and government red tape, me as a civil engineer, her as a U.S. Marshal, it was the only thing that made sense. We were tired of tension, hungry for silence, wanted a little bit of land where the rules didn't reach so deep and the night sky was full of stars nobody else cared about. Whisper Bend, that's what we called it. Not exactly a postcard, but it was ours with air so fresh it almost burned after rain, cedar trees dancing in the wind, and a creek that seemed to sing a different song every dusk. When we signed the deed, Maggie was still in her duty blues badge, hidden in a canvas tote, trying not to draw any eyes in that tight-lipped town of Ridgebend. The notary gave us the small-town squint, half suspicion, half curiosity, but didn't say much, and for a while that's just how it went. Quiet, uneventful, boring in the best way. We cleared brush, set up rainwater tanks, dragged in solar panels. It wasn't just retirement, it was a declaration. We didn't want the manicured lawns and 43-page HOA covenants, God no. We wanted wild edges and the right to put up a greenhouse or a weathered mailbox wherever the hell we liked. Technically, our land was part of a thing called Pine Ridge Estates, but it had been there 15 years before the HOA ever dreamed up their rules. County registrar confirmed it. Parcel predated the charter, plain and simple. Didn't stop the whispers, though. Neighbors muttering about HOA patrols, letters about paint colors, mailbox styles, outdoor lights. Most folks shrugged and fell in line. Some kept their heads down. We figured they'd leave us be, since legally we weren't theirs to herd. Boy, were we wrong. First shot fired a letter in the mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just this crisp typed warning. Unregistered fencing violates Pine Ridge Code 4.3, remove or face penalties. I laughed. Maggie didn't. She studied it like a murder weapon. There's no Code 4.3, she muttered, and I knew not to argue. She'd read every word of that charter when we moved in. Double-checked, highlighted the clause that made us exempt. We ignored the letter, thought they'd give up. But you know how it goes. People with a taste for control don't let go easy. Next came the patrols. Some guy in a Navy vest, HOA enforcement, stitched across the back, pacing our boundary, snapping photos of the solar rack. I tried being civil. Can I help you? He didn't blink, just said, routine inspection. You're violating setback limits. Told him the rules didn't apply. We're not under his thumb. You'll be hearing from the board. I went inside, told Maggie, and we laughed, sort of. Underneath it, though, I felt the prickle. This wasn't about codes, it was about making a point. Week by week, it ramped up. Someone tore down our private property sign, more notes showed up, unauthorized structures, submit development plans. Then a neighbor, a sweet old lady with cookies and nerves, came by to warn us Karen's got her eye on you. Doesn't like exceptions. Karen, HOA president, clipboard queen, half legend, half local horror story, never met her, but apparently we were already on her list. Maggie shrugged. Let her play boss. She steps on us, I'll bury her in paperwork. But I saw the change. She stopped leaving her badge at home, parked the truck inside, started locking the gates at night. She lay awake longer, listening for footsteps on gravel. You could feel it like a storm building in the air. Then came the day they really showed their teeth. 6 men, black tactical vests, HOA enforcement units stenciled across their backs, lined up outside our front gate. Karen, front and center, phone, ready, smug as a fox in a chicken coop. I was fixing a pipe when I spotted them. Maggie was slicing apples in the kitchen. They're here, I called out, and she didn't even look surprised. Do I need to bring the badge? Not yet. I stepped out, tried to stay calm. Karen flashed a laminated sheet, formal declaration. You are to cease all development, remove non-compliant structures, vacate hazardous materials. I blinked. Hazardous propane tanks, rain barrels, solar panels, environmental fire risk. Never mind that none of those guys could spell EPA, let alone site regulations. You've got no legal standing, I said. You're not officers, you're just neighbors in matching vests. Karen snapped, step aside or we'll document your refusal and proceed with a forced lien filing. Your land will be seized for non-compliance. I almost laughed. You think you can take our land? She grinned. Emergency Clause Article 9. Maggie stepped up, then calm but cold, arms folded, eyes locked on Karen like she was measuring her for a coffin. You cross that gate without a warrant, you're trespassing. Impersonating law enforcement is a federal offense. One of the men smirked. Lady, we've got the HOA's authority. Which is not a law enforcement agency, Maggie shot back. They didn't budge. You've got 30 seconds to leave before I report you all for attempted unlawful entry. Karen hesitated, then gave the signal, and they left, all formation and bravado boots crunching on the gravel. Inside, Maggie's hands trembled on her tea mug. They're escalating. They think they can scare us into giving up. What happens if they actually try it? I didn't answer. I already knew Maggie wasn't trained to take threats lying down. Things got uglier. Anonymous notes, spray paint on the driveway, violator fence smashed in the middle of the night, security cameras catching blurry figures with crowbars. I called the sheriff, Deputy Herrera. Came out, took one look, sighed like a man who'd seen too much of this crap. You need more than police. You need paperwork. That was Maggie's cue. She filed complaints everywhere. County Real Estate Fraud Unit, Building Department. Every letter got copied. Every attack documented in a thick binder labeled Pinarage HOA aggression. Meanwhile, I reinforced the fence, installed floodlights, motion sensors, cameras. Still, the threats kept coming. Then, a letter from a private law firm accusing us of disrupting community harmony and threatening civil suit. Maggie just snorted. Cartels run more professional cover than this. She called Miriam a federal litigator friend, and Miriam dug deep. Turned out the HOA wasn't just bluffing. They were lobbying the zoning board, trying to redraw property lines, prepping for eminent domain, reclassify us as development priority. Lots force us out for the sake of community interest. A land grab dressed up as civic duty. That night, Maggie locked every door badge on her nightstand. They're going to try something soon, she said, but when I suggested staying somewhere else, she just shook her head. No, I want them to try. You know what I mean. A week later, 3:24 a.m., floodlights snapped on the cameras, caught 6 men with crowbars sneaking up from the creek trying to tear down the fence. Maggie had set up high-powered halogens. When those lights hit, they scattered. We sat on the porch, coffee cold, watching the sun rise over the wrecked fence. Maggie smiled. That's federal now. Conspiracy to intimidate a federal witness. We filed everything, not with the sheriff, but with the U.S. attorney. Contacted the news. Publicity meant risk, but Maggie knew noise draws light. Suddenly, neighbors started coming forward one by one, sharing stories of threats, blocked sales, fake fines. Turned out Karen's brother worked for the zoning board, fast-tracking development by forcing out anyone who didn't fit the mold. Our land. The last piece in their puzzle. The key to connecting 2 big parcels for a luxury community space. HOA showed up again, broad daylight, Karen with her enforcers, body cams, clipboards, barcoded badges, trying so hard to look official. Maggie filmed the whole thing. Bylaws don't override state law. You are trespassing. They tried to argue. You are interfering with community governance, no. Maggie replied, you are impersonating an official inspector on video again. This time they retreated. Next move, black SUVs, private enforcement division like a movie. 8 in tactical uniforms, utility belts, mirrored glasses. Karen last out, oozing smug. We're here to execute an enforced easement inspection. Maggie stepped up, calm as ever, flashed her U.S. Marshal badge. You are attempting to seize private property under false authority. This is being transmitted live to federal oversight. Silence. One of them tried to bluff, but Maggie held her ground. You have 1 minute to remove yourselves, or I will call jurisdictional escalation. Panic equipment packed up, drone grounded, folder dropped in the gravel. Pure chaos. We filed everything with DOJ, unlawful impersonation conspiracy to defraud. Maggie called her old boss. Within days, federal agents raided the HOA office, boxes of documents, board members subpoenaed, the president fled, and then arrested across state lines. Local news exploded. Neighbors came out of hiding. They fined us for a fig tree. They threatened to revoke our lease. They made us pay for a mailbox. Abuse, manipulation, control, it all unraveled. Maggie testified before a grand jury. Federal charges filed. HOA dissolved. A temporary committee of residents took over. The quiet that settled over Pinarage wasn't fear anymore. It was relief. Volunteers mowed lawns, painted murals, sorted records. Maggie worked behind the scenes, discovered the HOA had lied to the county for years. That land they tried to seize, never theirs. The community rallied, petitioned to make it city-protected open space, 189 signatures. The city passed it. Maggie and I watched from the crowd, knowing we'd help turn the worst fight of our lives into something worth leaving behind. We turned the old HOA office into a resource center, the Ridge House, where neighbors could learn their rights and actually help each other. The state recognized it as a landmark of citizen justice reform. On a quiet morning, Maggie dug up her old badge, the one she'd buried the day she retired. She handed it to me and said, "It's time to bury it again, not as a goodbye, but a reminder that peace isn't passive, that freedom gets reclaimed inch by inch." We buried it together, looking out over the land they'd tried to steal, and for the first time since all this began, I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the start of a legacy. So yeah, what do you think? Did we do the right thing? Is justice just about fighting back or knowing when to let go? I'm curious. Drop your thoughts. Tell your story. Because trust me, there's always more to these battles than meets the eye.